Did you ever think it was impossible to be held while you cried? Because I did. Not just impossible, but dangerous, unsafe. Like if I let go even a little too much, I'd be too much. Too messy, too emotional, too broken to love. But something happened recently that changed everything for me. Everything I thought I knew about connection, about safety, about my own body. And I want to tell you what it was. There's a yoga trainer at my gym who I've been quietly having a one-sided war with for over a year. He's this confident, energetic, athletic guy who runs the most intense hot yoga classes, always surrounded by people who love him. And every time I took his class, I felt like he didn't even notice I existed, never remembered my name, never made eye contact. And at the end of each class, he'd say, "If you don't want an adjustment, please place your hand on your stomach." I never did because I always wanted an adjustment. I hoped he'd just see me once and choose me, but he never adjusted me, not once. Sometimes I brought friends, beautiful women, and he adjusted all of them. And in my neurodivergent brain, that created a story, a narrative. He doesn't like me. Maybe he's homophobic. Maybe he just wants to touch all the girls. Maybe I'm invisible. I even made him a bit of a villain in my own mind. And I now know that's part of how my autistic brain tries to protect me when I feel misunderstood or rejected. But at the time, I didn't have the clarity. I just had the spiral. So fast forward, I begin learning about my neurodivergence, likely autism, and I start revisiting all these social dynamics that I've misunderstood for so long. I decided to give his class another try. Then I hear he's leading a microdosing workshop. Legal psilocybin truffles here in Amsterdam, mixed with breathwork and meditation and yoga. I heard him mention it before, and honestly, I just rolled my eyes every time. I didn't see him as a safe person or a leader in any way, but something in me said, go. So I went. Small group, 8 or so of us, and when it came time to share our intentions, I surprised myself. I talked about my autism, about being early on in the journey, about wanting something expansive. And this man, this trainer who I had decided didn't even like me, responded with something I'll never forget. He said, autistic people are spiritually gifted, that we live between worlds, that we're not broken, we're magical. He saw me, and it cracked my heart open. A few days later, I took his class again. Still no adjustment, still the familiar rejection loop. But this time, I stopped myself from spiraling. After class, I walked right up to him and I said, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And for the first time in my life, I voiced something like this out loud. I said, "I've been in your classes for a year, and I know it might be the autism, but I felt like maybe you don't see me, or maybe you don't like me. You never adjust me, and I don't know what story to make of it." He looked surprised but kind, and he said, "Honestly, when I walk around at the end, I'm looking for bodies that are out of alignment. Yours always looks aligned. I didn't think you needed one." I said, "Well, I've got a lot of shoulder tension." He smiled and said, "Tell me next time. I'll take care of you." And just like that, the whole story I'd carried for over a year, it dissolved, gone. After I showered and drank my smoothie, I found him again. And I said, "Listen, I just need you to know that was really hard for me to say." And then I told him the truth. I said, "Honestly, I thought maybe you were homophobic, or that I made you uncomfortable, or that you just liked adjusting hot girls and didn't want to touch me." I told him how my brain had built this entire narrative out of silence and uncertainty, and how real it felt in my body. And without missing a beat, he looked at me, smiled, and said, "Renan, I'll touch you every day if you want." Then he pulled me into a big warm hug. He didn't make me feel stupid. He didn't get defensive. He just honored what I said. And I felt so seen. It was the first time I'd let someone see how deep my insecurity went. And he met it with compassion. Not pity, not discomfort, just love. He hosted another microdosing workshop that weekend at the same studio as before. I signed up again. This time I came in with more trust. I felt safe. I wasn't protecting myself anymore. The group was bigger, maybe 15 or so of us. And we did breathwork again. Intense, emotional, exhausting breathwork. And when we dropped into Shavasana after, I started hearing quiet cries around the room. Soft tears, grief in motion. And something in me opened. I started crying, really crying. And then it hit me. I started to sob. Not a few tears, a release. Maybe the biggest emotional release I've ever had. And then he came over. He placed one hand behind my shoulder and his fist gently over my heart. And in that moment, I felt held. Fully, safely, without needing to explain. He didn't try to stop my tears. He didn't fix me. He just held me while I cried. And I realized that had never happened before. Not like this. When the workshop ended, I pulled him aside. I said, I need time to process what just happened, but it was profound. Thank you. And then I asked him, moving forward, can I always hug you when I see you? He said, of course, and he hugged me. The next day I saw him at the gym. He was mid-conversation, but the second we made eye contact, he jumped up and gave me a huge bear hug. I told him I had processed more, that what he did, just holding me while I cried, was something no one had ever done for me. And I don't mean no one's ever tried. Of course people have tried, but I never let anyone, because I believed that if I really cried, fully broke down, people would leave, or shut down, or walk away. And in the past they did. But this time, he stayed. And in that moment, I started to believe that I was lovable as I am, that the love I've always craved is possible, that I don't have to perform or mask or earn it, that maybe, just maybe, I can be held in my fullness and not be too much. And it only took me 40 years to get here.